Hello. Hello. one more time. Son of a- I dropped. It's on the back. Your report. I can add that. Where are you? So I did a little. I did an experiment. They're not near as pretty. I wasn't trying to compete with this. I took the pumpkin seeds and I was like, I want to try to put some chocolate on them. And then I added some nuts and cranberries and pomegranates. So I don't know. I think I used a little too much chocolate. It was little baker's chip thing. Yeah, I think. Oh, no, that's right. Those are amazing. Yeah, the chocolate kind of covers up the. Yeah. Okay. The soup. It didn't make a lot of the soup, and we ate some of it yesterday. But I wanted to save you and your wife some. You might just need to add a little bit of either broth or I just added water to it. It got kind of thick. But if you add a little water to it, yeah. Yeah. You guys make your save your own broth and make it. Yeah. Oh. That. Yeah. I love that. You just boil it for a long time and then empty that out and get new water. And then just kind of. Okay. Lots of. Okay. And how many times do you do that? Can you do it like 2 or 3 times? Empty out the water. So you just make it big. You must have a huge. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Nice.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Amanda, did you get Jen's request? She wants to add an amendment to the agenda for Sam.
Yep, we actually have probably like 5 amendments to the agenda.
Okay. Okay, cool.
It's a highly amended agenda this morning, so
Okay.
cool. Thank you so much. The highway is closed from Golden to here? Is this true? Steve says no. I have my cool blue glasses today.
I just drove here from Evergreen. The highway's open.
Is it flowing okay?
Yeah, it's like it's snowing but like it is here as you get to Georgetown, but it's okay.
All right. So I'm like, that's not good.
Steve, I had a dream. I was bartending at Guanilla and it was super busy, and a group of like 25 people came in and they started jumping over the bar to like get beer. And I kicked them out and you were real mad. So it's lovely to see your face this morning.
Why did you lose all those sales, Katie?
I know. I was like, if this really happened, Steve actually probably would be kind of upset.
I think the part where they were jumping over the bar was a little offensive.
Yeah, I know. I was like, and I was screaming at you because I was like, they're jumping over the bar. What do you want me to do?
Oh, there's a sun glare closure.
Yeah, they closed eastbound, but that's like by Two Bears, going before you get to White Hill.
Huh. All right. Fun. Good times. Good times had by all. Just gonna stay in my house today. Not do anything. Let's see. It appears we have a quorum. I will let everyone's screens come up here. See Jen. Okay. One sec. Good morning, Justin. And I will call the meeting to order.
Good morning.
Where in the world did it go? All right. And Paul signing in. Okay, I'll let Paul sign in and then we'll get started, guys. It is January 5th, 2022, and I call this meeting of the Georgetown Business Promotions Commission to order. Happy New Year, everybody. Jen, can I get a roll call, please?
Okay. Chairman Amanda Cooper.
Here.
Vice Chairman Justin Dowd.
Here.
Kevin Kaharik.
Here.
Steve Skalski.
Here.
Paul Boat. We see Paul Boat. We know he's here. There he is. Mary Smith.
Here.
Katie Rutten.
Here.
Kyle Rutten.
Here.
And that's all of the board, the commission members, except for Jan McCollum is absent. And
awesome. Okay. We have many amendments to the agenda this morning. We need to amend the agenda to discuss the ice rink and potential and activities for that. We have Sam, sorry, I was going to call you Samantha for a second, joining us from the rec district this morning to talk about a potential event over at the ice rink. So we'll add that to the agenda. We need to add the all organization meeting discussion. We need to add the ice driving calendar. And there's one more thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Mary was something about snow shoveling, right?
Yeah, the shoveling on, or the snow removal on, in front of business.
Snow removal on 6.
And then we were gonna do a quick Strauss Park update and perhaps a library update.
Okay. Awesome. So all of those amendments to the agenda this morning. Before we make a motion to approve the amended agenda, does anyone else have anything? That's weird. Who's ringing our door at 8 a.m.?
If we could get an update on the bell tower, that'd be great.
Bell tower. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Oh shit. Sorry. Hang on, you guys. It's the police. We had an alarm go off at the restaurant. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, this happens every business promotion. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the amendment as agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, motion carries. Okay, so any new businesses on 6th Street, managers, operators that we need to know about? Okay. And audience business. I will go ahead and let Sam jump in here, and I will put you on to audience business.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sam Dime, and I oversee our programming and communications for the rec district. And I reached out to Jen yesterday, a couple days ago, and we would like to see about doing just a small event at the Whirlin Ice Rink in February. I think kind of the date that got discussed was February 12th. We are doing a hockey program starting there next week, which we're super excited about. One of our goals for this year is to be working with the town of Georgetown in a much more collaborative way and trying to serve the residents of Georgetown much more widely than we have historically. So if you might remember, we did an event called the Night of Fire and Ice at our synthetic ice rink that we had last winter a couple times. And really we just did skating, had some music, had a food truck come out, and it was a lot of fun. And we thought it would be pretty cool to do this at the Whirlin Ice Rink in February. And so we don't, my plan is it'll be a pretty low key free event. We would like to charge for ice skate rental for it to help us to cover our costs. And so our ice skates that we have at the rink here in town, we could use at the rink in Georgetown as we're doing for our hockey program. So we would like to charge a rental fee for those. And then we have discussed as well the possibility of live music or maybe doing a DJ with music, which I talked to Jen about as well. And then seeing if there's any local food trucks that would like to come and join us. And then we'd also like to discuss the possibility at many of our events, we've had like a keg of beer donated to us, which we then serve for donations. And typically that money then we put back into like our youth programming. So that is, I think, maybe the biggest concern that we would need to discuss. I don't find out how you handle liquor licenses and what the process is for that. Jen, am I missing anything that I should be adding?
No, I'm going to jump in a little bit because I didn't have a chance to update these guys after you and I met last night. But it was also this is also on the agenda, but we can combine this into one. I was also approached by several businesses on 6th Street to try to put together a type of Winterfest. And after Sam approached me with this idea, we decided that the best way to go about it in February, both events were proposed about the same time in February, is that we would combine the two and make it sort of a Georgetown Winterfest featuring a night of fire and ice. So we combine Sam's idea and what Clear Creek Rec wants to do, potentially with what the businesses had proposed. And I don't know if we want to go into all of that right now, but with the Winterfest part of it, but it does piggyback on what Sam is saying. So it would be sort of an afternoon into evening event that would involve a closure of 6th Street, vendors in the park, and then would have different sort of stations throughout town, Whirlin Park Ice Rink being one, potentially the ice driving being another station, and just things going on. Sorry, my dogs are gonna bark. Things going on around various parts of town. So this all came up really fast and we don't have a ton of time to plan it, but that's sort of the proposal that we're looking at and thinking of moving forward, and just combining these two events into one big fun afternoon, evening, winter gala.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we definitely are excited. Sorry, my camera's down because I could hear like a fraction of what Sam was saying, and now I can hear much better. So, hooray. When we get to the Winterfest discussion, we can definitely circle back and incorporate this into a really fun aspect of that particular event. And we're super excited to partner with the rec district. I do apologize, I did not catch, is there a need for financial support from the commission, or, because I couldn't hear you very well?
No, I think the one thing I mentioned to Jen yesterday was, doing live music, and we have done live music in the winter a couple times. So we have a tent and a fire pit. That would be fun to do. And if that we would possibly request some financial help with,
But it also, we have some great speakers and lights that we've used for events inside the rec center. And if we were to have a DJ or even a playlist with the speakers and set up our lights, I think that would be really fun, and would be a much lower cost option that we could take care of.
Okay, super. Well, we will, is there anything else right now? I apologize, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, are we discussing this later in the agenda item? Or
We will combine the continued discussion on this matter or event rather to the Winterfest discussion, so we can unless Sam, you're obviously welcome to stay on and hang out with us. But I don't know if we need to compromise more of your time because we know you're a busy lady programming all the stuff down there. So unless you have anything else for us, basically what we would want to know before the event is if there is what the cost that you would need from the commission, because we would have to have you come back and ask for that money. Obviously, you need to get, and Jen Jordan can assist you with getting the sound permit that you would need for Worland Park. Since it is residential over there, there's a really simple, and I believe it's a no cost permit, correct? Go ahead, Jen.
There is a cost to it, but you guys, it's $250 for an amplified sound permit regularly, but if you guys want to waive that,
Okay.
I do still have my question because it's pertinent to Samantha.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an issue with a private company branded headline event, Fire and Ice anything. I have an issue with that. If it were listed, they were listed as a sub sponsor of the event, that's one thing, but to call it Fire and Ice anything is a problem for me.
It's not frozen ice.
Yeah, no, it's not. The Night of Fire and Ice is something that I came up with. It's nothing to do with Frozen Fire.
Ah, okay, because we did Fire, and I think Fire and Ice was our chili thing. Okay, now I know.
Oh, that is true. So we probably should not do.
I've done that before.
I don't care what it's called. That was just what we.
No, it's all good. As long as it's not like the Frozen Fire, blah, 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 then I have no issues with that. I think it's marvelous. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to know.
But you're right. That was the name of the chili cook-off, right, Jen?
It was, I just figured it was the name of the chili cook-off. I just figured it was okay because we had switched it to like a Night of Fire and Ice, which made sense. But I understand why we keep coming into the confusion with that and Frozen Fire, which are two completely different things, but it does get a little bit confusing. So we can brainstorm that a little bit to see if we can tweak it.
Cool.
And the only other question I had, Sam, was did you say something, there was a fire pit was a possibility?
Oh, yes. So we have 3 propane fire pits and 3 propane heaters that we'd love to bring up and use. So I don't know. We've been able to use them under the current fire ban, and hopefully by February the fire ban is done. I hope we get enough snow. But those are and that's where the Fire and Ice comes in. And we've done s'mores and stuff around those before. So if we could bring those up, that would be great. If there isn't a fire ban, we have a couple like regular fire pits as well. So I don't know if there's special permitting we'd need to request on that too.
I think we would just need to have a conversation with Chief Babian and make sure that he was good. But it's my understanding the propane is not under the current ban.
Right.
It's just that. So
yeah.
Well, it sounds really exciting, and I think it would be a really great addition to what can kind of be a pretty bleak month as far as February goes. It's not known for being the most exciting month around this county. So, so thank you for coming to us with this, and we're super excited to support this and make it a really positive event, not only for the community, but hopefully visitors as well. So thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate all you do for the county.
Great. Thank you all.
Thanks, Sam.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to try and turn my video back on. Hope I do not crash my internet. Okay. So with that being said, we are going to move on to Christmas market review. I will probably turn this over to Mary Smith for her feedback. All in all, I think everyone can agree it was a fantastic market. I mean, it was, it couldn't have gone better, especially weekend one with the beautiful weather we had. I know town looked amazing, and it was so wonderful to see people here and smiling and spending money and the vendors and all of it. So, but I do know we've got a couple things to unpack on that. So we'll let Mary take over and go from there.
Thanks. So I guess I'd really like just your feedback too. I know one of the things that we tried to throw in at the last minute because it was a horrible oversight was to include the bus shuttle to run down to Cabin Creek and to take advantage of, or to give them the opportunity, you know, for easier access, and then also to incorporate the microtel. And so, you know, we just have to remember that, and I don't mean we, but we the town, but we as HGI too, we need to involve all of the businesses as our town and development expands a little bit. Aside from that, you know, we had the tents in the street the first day we were able to do that. I think Kevin could give us some feedback on that. You know, the wind, of course, interfered with that great plan for another day or so, but then we were managed to put more merchants down in the little courtyard by the library. The library was extremely cooperative. Just to business promotions, I want to thank again, because we were scrambling over the weather change for Christmas market. Paul Boat and the Visitor Center were very welcoming to us when we were trying to find different places to house the street merchants, the street vendors. The library stepped in, the community center with Jerry Fabianic and his book nook. You know, they found a little niche for a couple of our street vendors. So it really, I hate to use this phrase, but I'm using it. It takes a village, and I appreciate everyone in this village that was able to say, sure, we'll figure it out. But anyway, other feedback from everyone for next year, for this year.
Let's go around the room, and I'm going to start with Paul Boat.
From my perspective, I think that the market was really well run. It was unfortunate that we couldn't have a fire on the s'mores. Obviously, those things. Who would have thought? We live and learn with getting the shuttle down to the new businesses by the lake, and I think that would have been wise. We did hear some people asking about how they get back over there, so that was the thing. I really, really, really liked seeing the tents on the street. I thought it felt more festival-like. I thought it felt alive and energetic when they weren't blowing away. But what can one do? So anyway, I think it was a great job by all. I thought that everybody seemed to be happy. I took time to walk around both times, both weekends. And I saw that the shops were busy. I saw that the 6th Street, the market space and Strauss Park was busy, and people were utilizing the full force of it. And I think that I saw them, what I did enjoy seeing was people going down 6th Street further to the east side of the street, which, you know, when you end a festival, it's a natural cutoff and people don't want to go beyond. So I think that did well. If we could figure out a way to start going around the corners as we start developing more businesses on Tao Street and on the southern side of Taos, especially, and maybe on the north side of Taos or on the north side of Rose Street. That's something to consider for the future, so we don't have that same cutoff issue and people feel, or something just to bring people away, find them and draw them down the corridor, something organic. Thank you.
Awesome. Justin.
I'm afraid I don't have much to add. I was out of town for both weekends, but I did hear it went well, and I heard a lot of people enjoyed it. I know we had a full house at the bed and breakfast for both weekends, and everything I heard was good feedback. So keep up the good work.
And next in my Hollywood Square screen is Kevin.
I've kept data on this event for the last 11 years. And what I discovered this year is we made more money than ever before. But that did not equate to more visitors than ever before. So what that means is I had a more sophisticated, qualified visitor who spent more money. And so what that means from a staffing perspective is that the visitor load was manageable for the staff infrastructure I had. And so fewer visitors spending more money ended up being my experience, and that equaled success for us. We have much more capacity for visitors year round. I've talked to Jen Jordan about this. We have the capacity to service about 15,000 visitors a year, and we have plateaued at 6,000 to 7,000 visitors a year. So we have a lot of room for growth. But my view on this is starting to soften just a little bit, because if I have 6,000 to 7,000 visitors who spend more money, that makes it a lot easier on my staff. So it was a very interesting discovery for me. I thought the event was great, best one I've seen. I think we finally figured out the 400 block of 6th Street, which people used to stop, pedestrians used to stop at the intersection right there by Happy Cooker, and now they go past that with the tents. I don't have a solution for the wind. I racked my brain. The only thing I can think of that might be helpful is our courtyard at Hotel de Paris might hold 2 or 3, maybe 4 vendors, but I'm not sure people would discover those people tucked away behind the building. But that's something to sort of think about. We could maybe use that space. Maybe that would be the windbreak for a few people. Thank you.
The wind this year was insanely challenging that second weekend. I was outside all 4 days, back and forth, and that Saturday was brutal, and it was very, very difficult that second Saturday there was nothing you could do. I mean, other than go stand in the brewery and get warm and go back outside. It was really, really cold. Steve, go ahead. Skalski, excuse me.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing that was missing was the bell from Alpine Hose. Not sure what's going on there, but I added it to the agenda. The other thing that I had previously spoken to Kent Brown on many times was putting some kind of a sub base, not even paving, but put the gravel sub base down on the parking lot, town parking lot across from the brewery. You can't stop the wind, but you can stop the dirt and you can stop the dust. And, we have a bird's eye view of Strauss Park from the brewery. And it was just amazing to see the wind blow and then these big clouds of dirt nailing everybody that was in Strauss Park on a continuous basis. Even 4 or 5 kids yucking it up in the parking lot and kicking stones around were creating dust storms. So these are the things that we keep talking about that would make probably a huge aesthetic improvement to things without presumably spending a ton of money. And again, when I think what I mean when by a sub base, if you lay down, the stuff they put down before they put asphalt down, and it serves, it hardens, and it's not perfect, but it'll certainly keep the dust down. So those are my 2 comments. Otherwise, I agree with everything I've heard. The tents were great the first weekend, and it just had a really good vibe. And the second weekend was good considering the weather. So,
Kyle.
We walked down there a couple times. I even invited my family up, extended family, and everyone had a very good time. I was kind of laughing. It was all going so well, and there were so many people up, and I kept making the comment that we attract tons of people to Georgetown kind of right when Georgetown, in my opinion, is like the the least appealing. And obviously Christmas, it has a ton of appeal. I'm not saying that, I'm not knocking Christmas market at all. I think it's fantastic, but I'm just saying, like, man, like, I wish all these people could see Georgetown in the middle of summer, when in my opinion, that's when Georgetown is paradise. And so, you know, I was talking about that with my family, and they were like, well, we just saw so much coverage on the news and blah, 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 blah. And they're right. There's just a massive amount of earned media. And I think it just kind of underscores how powerful these repeat events that really stand out and have like sort of a flagship idea behind them. They're very powerful for town. And if there's any way to add one or two more throughout the year over the next decade, you know, to where it becomes a tradition, I think they're just extremely good for town. But yeah, overall, I was totally impressed and am excited to see it continuing to improve.
Awesome. Katie, you're the last word on this before we get into the couple little things.
I'm probably just going to recycle a little bit of what other people said, because I'm not super creative on new ideas here. But Kyle and I walked around the first weekend. The second weekend I was helping out at Guanella. And the first weekend, I feel like I got lucky that was the weekend I got to walk around, because it was so nice. Didn't ever really realize, well, I guess this has been something we've been trying to put effort into, and it went successfully, but walking down towards like Hotel de Paris and seeing how busy it was in that little block, I actually thought was really cool. I mean, just even as somebody that lives here, I saw Thad's tent and I saw everyone from Hotel de Paris outside, and it just seemed like it was stretched out. As many people as there was that weekend, I didn't feel like, you know, it was all crunched in that same little block that Strauss is in. So I thought it was just kind of super fun to walk around and like explore all that was going on, even the community center and everything they had going on. But I would agree that it would be nice to see it stretch up on Tau Street, like where Sable and stuff is, because it seems like that could, I know wind is weird, but it seemed like that it just kind of like cut there. And as soon as I would walk towards my house, like we were going home, it's almost like I couldn't hear anything. Like it was silent again. Like it just ended there. It was really weird. So those businesses being more built out and having people that are like actual merchants there now, it would be cool to see them get incorporated as much as possible. But I think that speaks for any section around 6th Street that has a business on it that maybe isn't on that exact 6th street. So anyway, I thought it was fun. It was, I think it successfully ran. I wouldn't say there was any like thing that stuck out to me as far as like ways that HGI can improve what they're doing. I think they do such a stellar job, but that's it. Stop rambling.
All good feedback, everybody. So just coming back to a couple things in the chat. On the subject of food trucks, this was a little bit of a tricky one because I know specifically, and I was not a part of the school discussion, just to preface this, both Georgetown Community School and the community center both humbly requested that food trucks not be placed right next to them for the fundraising effort. So I do think that with volume that we saw, especially in the first weekend, the food trucks would have been probably a welcome relief in some respects. It was about a 45-minute wait for brats. That space is just also really inefficient to work in. And that's it's the way that it's done in that booth isn't the most efficient thing. And so I think that's an opportunity for them to do better. I have no idea what the wait was at the community center tent on the first weekend, because I was down in the brat booth for most of the weekend. Does anybody know if it was like a 40-minute wait for sliders, or was it just us and our illustrious inefficiency at the school fundraiser?
I mean, I stood out by the slider area and getting harassed by some really strange women ringing the Salvation Army bell. I mean, they were very aggressive. I'm just joking. They were very nice. But I stood out there for probably a good hour or so when there was a lot of people on 6th Street. And I think it's what you just indicated, Amanda. They were churning and burning people, and people would walk up, and Marvin was working it the whole time, and they were a well-oiled machine there. So
I think that if we talked about food trucks, we would want to be super strategic about the placement, because as much of a bummer as the waits were, and the pretzel line was super long too. The pretzel line was crazy long. The school raised like after it was like an $8,000 fundraiser for the school. And that's huge with all of the things that we have on our plates this year with the budget cuts and everything. And I have no idea what the community center raised, but it was an awesome benefit for the school. But I recognize obviously we're looking at a bigger picture. So it's a hard balance because you don't want to see those people leave town. But I also, the second weekend, we couldn't give brats away because it was so cold the last day. We were like, we literally wrapped up like 50 brats and just handed them to people just because that's what we had left. So Mary, then Paul.
The community center, and you addressed this, but the community center specifically asked us not to bring in food trucks, or they weren't going to set up. They were really concerned about their efforts and their reduced volunteers. And we wanted to be very conscientious about that, especially this first year coming back from not being able to host it last year. So, you know, that being said, that's kind of where we stood with that. I think the Happy Cooker always has a wait, and there are other issues with that. Kevin, I want to recognize that we thought of using your courtyard and also thought that might be a problem visually, but I appreciate that, you know, for the future. I don't think any amount of signs can attract people to certain areas, but we can certainly try. I did go down and visually look at the wooden booths that the Old Town Arvada has. And, you know, I would love to be able to, and they're very colorful because I think that's a big thing too, like with the tents down in front of the hotel that first Saturday. I think, you know, if there's some way we could build those temporary but more solid structures, that might help us in the future too. But just throwing this out there, don't forget that HGI really wants to partner more with the town and turn this wonderful Christmas event over to the town soon.
There is Strauss Park in itself has a lot of opportunities to be more efficient. I mean, and I know that that's obviously on the horizon for hopefully sometime in the next couple of years. Electricity is a huge problem in those booths. We actually had to unplug the Christmas tree because it was tripping our breakers, and we were serving cold brats, and then we had to run back up and get new brats because our brats got cold because we didn't know our heaters weren't working. There's there's like no way to like, it's just weird. It's very weird to work in the booths. It's just not, it's not functional. That's the short version. Paul, then Kevin.
I'll start with the bringing people around the corner. Signs don't work. It's about bringing the festival around the corner. So if the festival goes around the corner, then people will go around the corner. And that food truck area that we were starting to designate over on Tao Street at that portion is something that can do that. HGI, you know, I'm not trying to down HGI at all by saying what I heard and what I observed. It's something that I've been saying every year since I moved here. About all of our events and about actually storefronts in general. Being concerned about competition is one thing, and then getting a volume of people is a wonderful thing. But if you cannot serve your guest and you irk your guest rather than serving them, that is horrible. It's worse because those people go home and complain, and they don't come back, and their friends don't come back, and they don't enjoy what they're getting. So you can sell $8,000 in brats, but the people that walked away and the people who were ticked, and the ones of us who stayed there to order 10 brats so that they could do their tradition for an hour, that's one thing. You've got me, I don't care. You've got other people who are pissed, and they're pissed when they go to restaurants. It's like the Sheep Festival, and I went to we didn't have any food trucks because nobody wanted food trucks. They didn't want competition against their restaurants. And then I went to Lucha and waited 2 hours to even get served. It was an hour before I had somebody at my table. And I'm not a guy who like goes, oh, it's 5 minutes and it's 2 hours. It was a while. I looked at my phone.
Yeah.
And I'm a local, you know, and that's getting served and then getting someone to get your check. You're like 3 hours in and you thought you were going to be able to go for a half an hour. You could hear how ticked off everyone was when they were leaving that restaurant. That's why the food truck thing, that's why it's been going on forever. And it's not specifically about this event, it's about a larger thing that if we want to bring all these people here, we need to be able to serve them.
Mhm.
Kevin was speaking about the quality of the guest and the willingness for that guest to spend more money. A pissed off guest does not spend a lot of money. They'll get
It's-
2 months and leave and they're done. Or they'll leave the entire festival like I heard. And that's my point with this. Are we being short-sighted by looking for the volume because we want to make sure that we have all the brought people coming to us. We want to make sure that we have all the people coming to our booth. We want to make sure that we have all coming, but then we're turning them away. And that's what happened. They ran out of buns right before I got there. Thank goodness they got them in. You know, so those little glitches, you go, oh, it's a cute little thing. But when I went to this restaurant, I went to this restaurant, and then I came over here to get brats, and all of it was too long. That's the issue. That's what
I definitely I think that we could find food trucks. I'm not saying no to food trucks, but I think that there has to be a strategy to not put them next to the community center or next to the brat booth.
I agree. And it would be wonderful not to have too many, not to have them crossover. I think that you're going to have the brat people anyway, once they find out it's the school or the community center. People want to go to the brewery anyway. It's a great restaurant. But we said Taos, pull them to Taos.
It's the flip side though. If we lost the community center over a food truck, I think that would feel worse to me.
No, I understand the politics involved in this, but we need to maybe educate people about what's going on because that sounds like the same thing. You carry those little gold leaves that I carry.
Well,
it just sounds like the same thing to me.
And
thank you.
I look at it in the respect, no, and I hear you. And I definitely, I think we, again, for the conversation about a balance on this subject needs to be because these are not, if this was a for-profit situation, I would feel very differently. If this was just 2 restaurants that were salty, I would be like, well, it's, you know, they're not next to you and you can't serve the people. But because these are very, very driven fundraisers for events for totally underserved purposes, I have a little bit more sensitivity to that. And that's the balance I'm trying to maintain without, because I want the community center there. They are a tradition just as much as the brat booth is, just as much as the pretzel people are. The pretzel people are for profit. They're definitely for profit. And they're really good pretzels and they're really good strudels.
I absolutely agree with you. And I don't think we should lose anybody. That's why I'm saying education. I don't think those people should be lost. But the guest, the general guest who doesn't care about our school, who doesn't care about our community center, doesn't care about anything, they see all of these things as specific venues to our event. They don't see them as separate little things that they're doing a good thing for. The people who live here and the people who care about us do. But the general public that we're pulling in with 9 News and everything else, they don't care. They just see it as another part of a festival. And that's what they talk about.
I will say we went to the Denver market. They moved it to Civic Center Park. And we had really long waits for food down there. It wasn't 45 minutes, but it was long. It was very long.
Yeah. But do you think that the expectations for a place like Denver are different than the expectations for a place like a small town like Georgetown?
I don't know. I mean, it's
that city we're used to, right?
Pardon?
I'm gonna stop. Anyway, I'm just going on. Living in a city, I just think you get used to queuing up. But when you come up to a place like us, you're not as used to queuing up for an hour in the cold.
I would say that we should probably get a bigger pass than Denver, but I respect your opinion. And I think we can have a discussion that is meaningful about this without alienating the existing nonprofits.
I agree. I just think that the conversation needs to stay open.
Definitely. Kevin, go ahead.
So, it does concern me about the long waits and people leaving in order to find food. They go to Idaho Springs and or beyond. And so this is a failure to service our customers. It's an opportunity to improve the customer experience, the visitor experience. You know, I talk about that all the time. And so we definitely need to figure this out. The other observation I have for brick and mortar restaurants who don't want food trucks because they see them as competition, if you can serve all of your people and there's no line and no wait, then you have capacity to do more. But if you have a long wait and you're turning people away or people are walking away, you're never going to make that money anyway. So back to the visitor experience. Let somebody else service those people who don't want to wait. Let somebody else serve those people who aren't getting served and improve the visitor experience for the whole town.
one of the messaging pieces from an observation that might be helpful to somehow get out through all of the media coverage is to somehow get it to people that walking in with extraordinarily large parties, like 27 people, you're not going to get served. And that we turned away, we lost 10 tables on the first Sunday of Christmas market because our deck. And so that was a huge bummer. And but the extraordinary number of large parties that walked in, not just during Christmas market, but through all of December, was mind blowing. I mean, we're talking over 20 people. This happened 2 to 3 times a day. Last Monday, we were full at 12:05, and it was a party of 13, 2 parties of 7, a party of 8, and a party of 9. I split up. I put 2 parties of 6 a party of 6, 3 people each into those little tiny booths. They were sitting on the side like this. It was like, honestly, kind of pathetic and terrifying. And so, but there's like for some unknown reason, there is absolutely no concept that when you come to town to ride the train with 18 of your cousins, that you should call ahead for a table. And there's nowhere to send them. I mean, Cabin Creek called me and said, please stop sending us these big parties. We're done. We can't do it today. That's it. I mean, so I send them to Bojo's or Tommyknocker. So it's definitely some messaging for the Georgetown specific restaurants and marketing, that if you're coming up with a bigger group of people, to plan ahead. You made your train reservations. You didn't call the train that morning. I don't know why it doesn't occur to folks. You're like, oh, we just bought 18 train tickets. Should we make some plans? I have no idea. Just an observation.
I have another observation. This was something new to us this year, and just an experience. For the first time ever, I had a group tour schedule the day before Christmas market because they didn't want to wait in long lines and they didn't want to be jostled. And so this was a group of seniors, like 15 seniors who came through. And so maybe we could think about the Friday before each Christmas market weekend, promoting that as a less populated day to come through, welcome groups to come through on those Fridays because there's more seating available. They don't get jostled on the sidewalks. They don't have to wait in long lines. And so maybe this is a marketing opportunity to get groups in that we can handle.
Mary, did you want to speak to doing vendors the Friday before? Because I know you guys did do that.
We did invite the vendors, and I would say over half the vendors did set up in Strauss Park, and the few street vendors that we had that were interested, and because on Friday we weren't planning on shutting 6th Street down in front of Town Hall and the hotel at all, so we moved them to Strauss Park. They were successful in the fact that they wanted to come back the next Friday, and so it was a positive venture for them. We did advertise that we were open that we were calling it the sneak peek on Friday. So, again, I think as we continue that, if that's what we choose to do, and I think, Kevin, you bring up a great point that it is, it was like, opening Safeway from 6 to 7 in the morning for whatever age range, so that the exposure was less. So I think if we just kind of key into some of those, and articulate some of that in our future advertising or, spread the word type thing, it could be beneficial. So thanks for mentioning that, because I think that brings up another good point for us all.
The Fridays were amazing. December was overall a very, very good month for businesses up here. And we got blessed with the fact that we didn't run into a ton of highway closures. So the train was relatively successful. But the Fridays before Christmas market were both great days. And it was definitely enhanced the visitor experience because they didn't just come up for one thing. They had something new to see when they were coming up to ride the train, and got kind of a whole different experience. So that's definitely something that I think we should continue to push. Steve, go ahead.
I'm just reading Paul's chat message and just brought up a thought. The train's website system, it's not, I'm not being critical, but it's definitely pretty rudimentary. And to the degree, even year round, that we, I don't know if they would be open for the town supporting the website a little bit from a development perspective, if we can indeed do what Paul is suggesting in his chat message and say, okay, thank you for booking your train. Here's a list of Georgetown businesses that you can either book a reservation or call or anything else to visit, and have that kind of happen. So anyway, just a thought.
That's certainly a conversation. I could reach out to Mark Grable and invite him to our next meeting and see what he thinks. It's not just a Christmas market opportunity. It's also an opportunity anytime the train is running. And again, it is so baffling to me. And I mean, Ryan and I were talking about it last night, the number of just like ginormous groups of people that walk in and they're like, what do you mean you can't seat me right now? There's 14 of us. And I'm like, I can't seat you right now. There's 14 of you. So I think we've exhausted this. I'm going to let Paul get the last word in, and then we will move on because we have a lot of other things to talk about on the agenda today.
Of course I get the last word. I apologize. No, I would love to, if we could move this, take this over. Should have just waited. This discussion about itineraries and about collaboration between the businesses and our websites, along with the stuff that Jen's been doing so well and Katie and Kyle have done so well for us, I think that would go well with our next meeting discussion, because this is something that's been a conversation at the trust for a while, and with the old school and the workspace, is to create a coalition of businesses that would like to collab on itineraries for, let's say we're having an event on the 13th or 12th or something of whatever. So dinner and a blah, 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 and a stay and a thing, weekend packages. And I think I don't want to beat it here. I just think it's a larger discussion that maybe we can build it in the beginning portion of it into our meeting in February. Thank you.
I will invite Mark to our next meeting so we can have him on board, because obviously we all recognize the economic impact of the Georgetown Loop, and basically that it is our bread and butter, and we need to engage with them. And they are so good at collaboration and engagement for the community. I think that we can make this positive and it really enhance the visitor experience. So all in all, good discussion on Christmas market, some opportunities for next year for sure. Do we want to leave Christmas market recap on next month's agenda for any more discussion? If anyone thinks of anything or are we all good putting it to bed for 2021?
The only thing I want to add, because as you guys were talking, I'm thinking, and I know, I saw Mary's message at Taos, so needs to be open because of the, fire department. And I know we closed Rose Street. Given the fact that there was a lot of people on 6th Street and in Strauss Park, there was the area in front of the brewery, which the street was closed. Randy closed the street right on 5th Street. So in front of the brewery, then going down in front of Strauss Park, it was kind of an open, barren area. I mean, people were either in Strauss Park or they were using the street to walk in, but it was just a big vacant area. And I don't know if Randy and Kelly would have the same issue with putting some booths up on Rose Street as well, but I think there's a piece of real estate there that somehow can be used, because the parking lot is being used for the vendors. So that's kind of all occupied, but then you just got a big open street with nothing really going on. So.
Well, as long as I can't hit them with my borrowed golf cart, then they're fine.
Well, then there was the golf cart. So yeah,
Slow down.
I think you need to slow down next time.
If you didn't get the right momentum in the golf cart when you were trying to go up the hill to the school, you rolled backwards. Ask me how I know. Anyway, good discussion on Christmas market. Well done, HGI. I'm gonna table brochures because there's not much to say on that. Kyle's working on new brochures and fixing the issue with the last one, and we will have them out really soon. They were very inexpensive to print, so easy peasy. Manager of Marketing and Events update. I'm going to turn it over to Jen Jordan, and then we will get into the discussion of potential February Winterfest.
Good morning. My efforts of late have been very much internal, working on things, marketing. I've been down with the yuck for a couple of weeks. So everything that I could do that wasn't being out and about and seeing people is what I have been working on. I now have full control over all of our social media accounts. And so those efforts will all be mine moving forward. I am still lacking some old password and login information, which I will continually be reaching out to people who may have that information that was previous to our last marketing person. Hopefully Kevin can help me with that. But that is with all all that comes with it, that is all now on me. So please let me know if you see anything odd or that needs tweaking. But we have several Facebook accounts, some large, some small. We've got an active Instagram account. We have an inactive Twitter account that I hope to be becoming more active, and also in the process of setting up a super fun TikTok account. That was one of the things that I was able to learn from the tourism conference, was how to use TikTok in marketing, which isn't something that I was super familiar with, as it's way past my marketing education days, but super important. So we've been seeing a lot of cool TikTok videos come out from just people visiting Georgetown. And so I think we can really piggyback on that. So
if I can interject really fast, Jen, you guys all go look. If you haven't looked, you have an afternoon to waste, go search Georgetown TikToks. There's honestly tons of them, and they're really mostly very good. The train definitely gets the most attention, but there is the visitor center in a bunch. There's the hotel in a bunch. The restaurants are featured. I mean, it is definitely like guerrilla marketing. We're not even paying for, and it's like, you will never catch me making a TikTok, but they're really fun to watch. You're not getting canceled. So go, check them out and see. And there's also like on the lake is really popular. So the Christmas market ones are particularly cute and exciting. And I would love for us to figure out a way to use Jen's expertise on this to enhance our marketing. So that's my little soapbox. I'm done. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. No, working on that expertise. Bear with me. Might take me a little bit, but we'll get it done. So that update in some of the website information, working on advertising partnerships for 2022. I thought we got a tremendous amount of organic advertising with the ending events of 2021, both with Bighorn and with Christmas Market. There are lots of partnerships to be had. Just doing the legwork of reaching out to editors and trying to make sure they know what's going on in Georgetown. We seem to, like I said, be getting a lot of publicity of late. I don't know how that compares to the past, but I'm told it's more than we've had before. So let's keep that momentum going. And I also, want to make sure that stays positive when we are having any kind of media exposure, that it's always on a positive note. So continuing to work on that. We definitely, I know Jen Absky sent out the Christian Science article. We were also had a Bighorn feature in Colorado Life magazine, which was really nice. I'll send out that as well, so that can get sent out maybe with the next newsletter. Working on that, an event calendar for 2022, just trying to get all the events locked down, old and potentially new. Working around what could be any kind of town construction issues, bathrooms going in, all of those things that need to fit in with our 2022 event calendar. Labor force survey, which we'll talk about later. Other things I'm working on, obviously this Winterfest, which will come up probably next, has been a big portion of what I've done for the last couple maybe the last week, just because it came up super quickly, but had a lot of momentum, potential momentum behind it. So we can get to that. Kind of to piggyback on what Paul said he wanted to bring up for the next meeting, as far as businesses and collaboration and itineraries, it's something after a meeting with Kevin that I had some time ago that really been thinking about a lot about, and a way to get those type of packages or itineraries or something into all visitors in Georgetown, staying in Georgetown, and how to do that. So that's something, if we're going to bring it up at the next meeting, then I will continue to try to work and collaborate on, but it is something that I have been toying with a little bit, just trying to get that put together in a way that makes sense for businesses that want to participate. Obviously, since our last meeting, there was many things Christmas market that happened. A unique perspective on Christmas market as being both a partial organizer and a vendor. So I didn't actually get to say that during that piece, but I just wanted to say how great that was from both sides. But that obviously took up some time. So that's kind of what's new with us. Biggest thing, obviously, moving forward is just getting these events scheduled, listening to new proposals for events. I've had several things brought to me. Cabin Creek is working on a ice fishing tournament of sorts. We have another group that is looking to come up and do an event on the lake potentially. So people are definitely brainstorming new ideas and sending them my way. So that's really fun to see. I'm glad to have that collaboration. That's pretty much what's going on over here.
Ha, unmuted. Now I shall unmute. Okay, so to that end, a group of merchants approached Jen Jordan about the potential, they are 6th Street merchants, about the potential of doing a new winter event. It rings very true to actually an event that was a part of an interview in January of last year. Katie Rutton. They want to do a winter fest. And so this was their name for it. And there is definitely some potential here to kind of grow this a little bit organically. It would probably not be the elaborate ice sculpture, street shutdown, horse sledding, luging, all of the things that they have envisioned. However, in some discussions, it feels like it is something that we could manage to do a fairly something small scale, pretty organic this year, and incorporate the aspects of the town, the lake, this event that the rec center wants to hold, and then, some vendors and things on 6th Street. So if we need to make some decisions today, honestly, if this is something that we're going to back and pursue. The 2 dates that seemed the most viable were, if I recall, Jen, what dates did we say?
The 12th was kind of what we had discussed.
The 12th and the 26th, there were the 2 big dates that we.
I know one of the primary vendors in the bush for this is not open on the 12th. So that could be a potential issue. I will circle back on that. This all kind of, when we kind of came up with the dates, and my partnership on it with Sam at the rec came out like fairly later in the evening last night. So we're now trying to kind of regroup and iron this out as a joint venture. She's been emailing me a bit while the meeting has gone on, and just kind of really wanting to make it more of a collaboration rather than the Fire and Ice being separate from Winterfest and just being a part of Winterfest. Then that eliminates the Fire and Ice issue name-wise, and also gets us on board just doing it as really a collaborative event. She brought up a broomball competition, some other things, but anyway, that's for down the road. So I think the 2 dates that we had talked about were the 12th or the 26th, because the 19th is President's Weekend, and we don't need the business necessarily for that weekend in town, is my understanding. The 5th, I think, is a little too early for us to pull it together. So the 12th and the 26th, I don't have an issue with the 26th. The weather could be better, but we could also end up with melted ice, which would be an issue. So I'm open to suggestions, having not spent a February in Georgetown specifically, as to what the thinking is. if it happens that that particular business isn't open on the 12th, I don't know that it's a deal breaker. Obviously, it is what it is. We're still executing an event that I think can be something big moving forward. So I'm comfortable with keeping it with the 12th unless we have some major issue, if that seems to work for everybody.
So in the scheme of things, I guess my first question is the ice is extremely unpredictable. Like if it warms up tomorrow, the ice is toast. As it is, we already lost all of our ice driving events this weekend and next week while we wait and see what the measurements look like tomorrow. Because I believe Jen Y or Steve, Sursa's measuring the ice tomorrow, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I think we'll be good for the next month, but if it warms up again, we may not. I mean, we've had 2 Februarys here that I recall that we did not have any ice driving at all, just because of the way the cookie crumbled. So I think we definitely want to incorporate the lake, but we would have to be prepared to pivot if we don't have the lake available to us for that sort of like spread out event. Katie, if you could at some point, maybe, would you be willing to spend like 15 minutes with Jen and kind of go over what you proposed when you did your interview for way back when, just so we have maybe some ideas of activities that we could work into this Winterfest to try and make it a viable event? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Because the only things that we came up with yesterday were obviously the rec centers piece, and then like asking Kim Knox to be like do guided tours like she's done for Bighorn Sheep, something involving like snowshoeing or ice climbing. Sorry.
I did reach out to her as well. So that's definitely one of the things that is on the agenda. And just to back up really quick on the ice thing, I mean, I think if we make it an all-encompassing winter fest, that if we don't have ice for some reason, we can still move forward with the event. We just have to punt on that piece of it. I think ice rink could probably be okay. If the lake can't be a part of it, then we can regroup there. But I think we can still make the event happen regardless of the status of the ice. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'd love to see that, Katie, if you do have time to share it with me. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think I still have the PowerPoint that I could send you if you want.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's, we definitely want to support our 6th Street merchants and their and the operators down there in their goal to get visitors. And we know this is a particularly bleak time of year, specifically for 6th Street, because there is not a ton happening in that neighborhood. And so there would be some street closures involved. And then there is also a conversation that I texted Randy about last night, a request to potentially have some type of open container situation in one of the parks and a collaboration on that front. So I have not heard back from him yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about it soon. The one thing I would like us to agree upon at this juncture is the date. Can we do this by February 12th, or do you guys want to push to the 26th? I have crickets.
If Jen thinks she can do it by the 12th, that's awesome.
I have 26 in the chat.
Not
I have
really
an event on the 12th at night.
I do think I can make it happen by the 12th, especially with the partnership with the RAC. Sam and I are already going to meet again tomorrow, because I think that the biggest piece in pulling this, the pieces are part of the issue, but really the marketing and advertising of the events so that we actually have attendees is my biggest concern. But I think if we collaborate tomorrow, as we are planning to do, and get that done ASAP, then we can pull it off by the 12th. The other piece that I do want to mention is that there is requests for food trucks for this event, both by RAC and by the businesses of 6th Street. Since we just had a big combo about that, I just think that this might be like a really good test of how we strategically place those food trucks to serve the attendees, and how we handle that, providing I can get any to come up here. in the next 5 weeks, but that will be a huge effort as long as there's no objection to that. I think on a small scale, it'll at least show us what can be done and how we could do it as sort of a little Christmas market experiment for the future, but just a thought.
Knowing that the fire department does not want Taos closed, I don't know if you caught that in the chat, that the fire department is very specific about not ever closing Taos. I would say maybe, I'm trying to think where we could put them. Parking
Well, I
lot
think
next.
we can at least put 2 at Warland Park to coincide with
Warland
the
Park,
ball
definitely.
tournament and the skating. That keeps that piece off of 6th Street altogether. But I think 2 there would be a really good start. And then
And that would be, so they would have to close Taos down there, which I don't think would be an issue to close it, like on that block, basically in front of the Warland's house. We should ask them, but I'm sure they'd be fine.
ask them.
They're really good friends of ours. I'll be like, hey, can we close the street?
We'll just plop a food truck in front of your house. It'll be fine. So yeah, obviously placement would have to be strategized, but I think it would be a good opportunity to give that shiny ordinance a shot and see how it works out.
So if we can pull off the 12th, what I would say next steps are this. Let's request a meeting with Randy and Kelly to just double check the road closure situation, see what they're comfortable with, see if you can find the food trucks, Jen. If we can find the food trucks, then we can get the road closed. We plan on closing the road by Warland Park. Combine it all into that date on the 12th. So we'll do the whatever it's named, the icy hot skate party. I don't know, something weird.
We'll figure it out by tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Make that, and then you and Sam can collaborate on that, and I will back up on helping you with permitting, and then we will maybe request a special meeting for some marketing, and we'll get Kyle some marketing materials to get over onto the website. But go ahead and put it on the event calendar now.
Okay.
Sound like a good collaboration plan? Did I miss anything?
What hours do you think? And we've gone back and forth on this a little bit too. So I guess I just like the opinion of others on how long we want this to run. Obviously the night fire and ice piece, whatever we end up calling it, will be in the evening when it is dark. I don't want to overstretch it to make it like crazy, but I want to make sure that it benefits us in the best way possible. So like starting maybe at like 1 o'clock type situation and stretching into the evening. Thoughts?
Really
Anyone?
cold when the sun goes down.
I mean, we go into the shadow at like 3.
Well, and for the skating part of it, that's clearly when the sun goes down, but for the actual daytime vendors in Strauss Park, potential closure of 6th Street, music, food trucks, whatever we end up planning specifically for that day. I don't know, 1 to 3 is when it's actually kind of sunny there-ish. Does that sound like, is that too early, I guess, or too late to start the vending Winter Fest portion of it?
I think sometimes people who come from the metro want to like get up and come and make it a trip so they can, especially if we're running into a situation with traffic. Not that we would or wouldn't, Saturdays can be funky. So I'd say maybe like the vending and daytime part, like 11 to 3.
Okay.
Like a pause and go like 4 to 7 on the skating piece of it, which would give people time to like warm up, go find a snack, go find an après-ski or happy hour type of thing.
Okay. And I think you're right.
By 4. Yeah. And it's honestly too cold to be in the park after 4 o'clock. If you don't have a heater in there, it's terrible.
And that was an observation of mine from Christmas market, is that first day, not only was the biggest bulk of the traffic early, a lot of it was before we even technically were open.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably an excellent point. Okay. So 11 to 3 for that part of it. And then moving into the evening portion, we'll figure out that part of it. But
especially
that gives me an idea.
I'm sorry to mean to cut you off, but if we're coordinating with Kimberly Knox on doing hikes, she's probably going to want to do those in the
Really.
daytime. I don't think
Yep.
she'd want to snowshoe at night up
No.
there. It's probably not fun. And if we want to talk about Anne Marie doing some type of Winterfest walking tour and maybe talking about ski history and ski ghosts, I don't know. Are there ski ghosts in Georgetown? Do we have like
Specifically?
specific?
I
Making
don't
things.
know, but I'll look into that.
And then, the other thing that people had talked about was potential of trying to find people to do a couple ice sculptures. I don't know if that's even possible. I mean, we're not going to get like a chainsaw guy, like throwing chainsaws in the air, like carving a giant bear.
We talked about like extra amateur, like tabletop ice sculptures, which might be kind of fun if we were to just put some mounds of ice in the park and say, hey, make this into like a little bit like plein air, like we said last night, like just make this into something you see, whatever, something along those lines might be kind of fun. But some type of craft like that, that's good for all ages, I think would be good.
So
Paul.
you have a concert that night at the Heritage Center, Paul?
Yeah,
Okay.
so at the old school, we have a jazz, part of our Devil Moon series is that's the 12th, I think it's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
That's so ours is on there, which I think it's great. It's a good piggyback time for people if they're not exhausted. And it's a good moment to actually, I mean, from my perspective, it's great because the advertising portion of it, but from the perspective of this group, I think it just adds to the festival feel that you have things to do. Go to the brewery, but if you want to, there's a jazz concert. There's something happening in the evening in Georgetown, so it's not just leave at 3 or it gets cold and there's nothing. There's like a couple places open, but no entertainment specifically except for 511. I want to mention that they have a musician there.
Absolutely. And that's a great, it's a nice thing that we can piggyback off of. So I think we have a little bit of marching orders and hopefully we've got some cohesiveness, and Jen, I will continue to meet with you weekly on this.
Okay.
And I can do the reach out to Kelly and Randy on asking about a street closure and what that would look like for a meeting with them. Maybe it can just get done via email. That would probably be ideal. Okay. So go ahead and talk about your workforce discussion survey. We did ask, the discussion we had last time was that we were going to hold it till January because it was obviously kind of moot at the point we wanted to get it out. And Jen also has some ideas on how to enhance it from an employee standpoint. So it will go out this month. And Jen, I'll let you take it.
Sure. I did have a series of questions that I don't have pulled up at the moment, but I maybe it's easiest just to email them out somewhat in the same fashion as the mission statement and just get some feedback on anything that people think I should add to the questions. Basically, the questions are all related to just labor force needs as we move into the busier season and capacity, what it would take to be operating at capacity, what active job postings our businesses do they have out there. I know on our website, we have a job posting section of which there are none. So how to better utilize the town's resources to help get that information dispersed. Some campaigns into, just why, and where we kind of want to go with this is taking that into why this is a great place to work. But I think before we can get into that, we really need to know what are the needs, what are the barriers to finding really solid and long-lasting employees, because as we know, we're still in a massive shortage, and that probably doesn't look to change as we move into the busier season. So I'll send those questions out. Another part of that effort, and this kind of came up with the workshop that we did a month or so ago at Tommyknockers. It was a Clear Creek County and Tourism Bureau effort, all related to a grant that we received, and just doing some frontline educating of employees on what there is to do in Georgetown. Starting with, and I know it'll be a difficult challenge, but with Circle K, I could stand in Circle K all day long and just point people in the direction of town that they aren't aware is there, and what activities are going on, and how to answer people when they ask. What is there to do in Georgetown? So just looking at some frontline education pieces. I know as a county, they're looking at taking employees and offering them experiences to different local businesses so they can really speak to, I had a great meal at Cooper's, you should go there, or the brewery was great. I was there last night, or I went zip lining, however that works out, but just some sort of effort moving forward to give frontline workers a little bit better education on what's going on in our communities so that they can really speak to people, and it's not just a gas up type situation. Or and some people in town do a really good job. Some of the employees are absolutely phenomenal at pointing people in the right direction, but there are a lot that just don't know. So just trying to close that kind of education gap is on the agenda, but also falling in line with just getting a better labor force here and really identifying what the needs are.
Sorry, I was muted. Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that come out in the next couple days, hopefully, so we can start tackling the results and disseminate those on the next agenda. Okay. The next thing is ice rink marketing. So the Whirlwind Park ice rink is done. We obviously have a great event coming up in conjunction with the rec district. But there was a request for an addition to the agenda for how we can market the ice rink and what we can do as a commission to kind of share the charm with tourists that this exists, and kind of get that out there, because it's, you know, it's very quaint and it's got the borrowed skates and it's very sweet kind of thing. So any thoughts on the ice rink and what we can do to get the word out about it, and that it's open and that it's super fun?
I have an idea. I know I'm not part of the commission, but
maybe
you could direct people, train customer. Oh, the train is being shut down.
Train shut down.
Never mind.
Sad face.
I could use a banner.
Okay.
You want a banner?
We could do a banner.
I have those polls.
Okay. Jen and Paul, if you want to collaborate on a banner, and then we can, it's January, so we haven't spent any money yet, so we can probably vote on a banner and pay for that for you. So, because we've got buffer money. So, a banner would be good. Definitely, some social media stuff, Jen, obviously, like maybe some nice pictures of it, especially at night.
Yeah. Now that it's kind of going, I think we can do that a lot better. I think it was a little up in the air about when it was actually going to be feasible to use. I know Corinne's coming out next week to do a story on the hockey camp that will be happening there. So I'm going to try to piggyback off of that a little bit. But obviously our normal social media pushes, we can make just separate banners for the county, the current, and kind of see where it goes from there. But yeah, I'd love to get some great pictures of it. TikTok on ice. I like it. We'd certainly do that.
Last year, and I forget, I think it was Saturday nights, because I was usually picking up my kids across the street when I got off work. There was an amateur locals hockey league, like a pickup game of hockey that occurred there like every Saturday night. That might be a really good night to get some photos. Because it's a lot of families. It's like little kids and like their parents, and it's really cute. And it's all like Georgetown people, and it would be a really good photo op to kind of post about the ice rink. And honestly, TikTok on ice is not a terrible idea. So I don't know, that maybe will be our first TikTok campaign, but it's super charming, and it was requested again that we maybe bring it up and keep it on our radar for the next couple months as a off-season marketing thing to get people from the metro area to come up and, do a little, walk around. We need an official sledding hill.
That's come up as a question on a few different of platforms, is that where can you sled in Clear Creek County, and that there really isn't any great, but we have to have a sledding hill somewhere.
There's a couple places in town. Go ahead, Paul.
We used the Argentine Street up at 2nd where the McCready house is. But then we got the big water thing in there, and that kind of ruined it, plus the going right into the traffic. And then when we closed off, Taos was really great, but we're not let that one February day was beautiful, or was it? whenever it was that big snow. It was fun, but we need one. The questions are constant, and I could drive people in town. The people that I work with could drive people in town easier if we could just say sled here then, because then they would go for a cocoa or go for a, you know, beer after or whatever, but they're looking for a sledding hill and I don't know where.
15th east of the roundabout. Trying to picture where.
So if you take, you know, go past your place and then go straight up where it hits Main Street, isn't that, that's 15th, right? They sled down there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Onto 15th. I mean, they have lookouts, so they're smart kids.
That is, yeah. The problem, honestly, with sledding here is that you inevitably end up in the street, and that's where it's like, and like I won't let my kids sled on the weekends if I'm not with them because I'm afraid they're going to get run over by someone with a out-of-state license plate who's looking at the houses and they don't even know what stop signs are here. They think they're fake. So a child on a sled is like easy pickings.
There's a little bit of an incline over by the tennis courts too.
Oh, that's not bad. Well, maybe we can kind of think on that, and like that could be part of our little Winterfest marketing, like all of the fun things you do in the winter besides skiing. And before I forget, it did come up that we should also incorporate Parker and Loveland into this Winterfest activity. So don't think that was forgotten. Anything else on the ice rink, guys? We'll just kind of it was a request to put it on. And then the ice driving calendar is the other thing. And I don't know. Jen, do you have the ability to share that, or should I just hold up my phone? I can just hold up my phone.
Let me try.
Okay.
And sorry, it was just handwritten, guys. I hope it was readable.
No worries. We'll get it figured out. Well, I'm waiting for Jen to hold that up for us. I do have it here too. I can share it here. So I don't know if you guys saw in the chat that basically we're not allowed to tell people the ice is safe or not, because it's definitely a use at your own risk situation. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. So going into, this is the current ice driving situation. Couple questions I had, Jen, here, if you want to scroll down a little bit more. Perfect. The middle part there, from the 17th to the 20th, when it says Sursa, that's the insurance company. Is that them using it, or is it
yes, they use it for training. They have it for 3 weeks. They have 2 weeks in February also.
Got it.
But they may be open. I don't know what your idea is, but they may be open to ideas.
I know that Jen Jordan's had some people ask about coming onto the ice, and you guys need to talk on that on the side. I mean, really the only day that we really do want to be able to access it is going to be the 12th, which is, I'm trying to see who is on there. That's 12th of February.
In February.
That's those people.
Robert. Okay. I mean,
but we wouldn't take over the driving side.
I mean, the lake is a big lake. Like we have shared it in the past.
Yeah.
The ice driving is sectioned off.
Mhm.
So there's that whole other side of the lake too. I'm not sure what ideas you have for the lake. But there's also the lagoon too, you know, on the south side of 22nd Street Bridge.
Well, we know that Cabin Creek is trying to, and this is independent of us, this is their own volition. They are trying to do some type of an ice fishing derby. Again, hopefully we hear about it soon. And I don't know if they've come in for a permit yet, but we know that that exists. And I think I just honestly wanted to share the calendar with the commission so everybody was aware of how it looked and what was expected, for businesses to know when people are coming into town. Generally speaking, we do see pretty good influx of spending from the independent car clubs, Audi, the Q Club, BMW. They usually definitely come into town. Some of the book events, and then our gang obviously is our OG kind of group that we definitely like, and they bring a lot of attention. The lake in itself is, I mean, again, like for marketing opportunities, people just the spectacle of seeing cars drive on the lake is enough to just get people looking at Georgetown. So if we can figure out a way to get them to talk about it and get them off the highway a little bit and get them into town, that would be good. But this is the current outlook for the lake. Obviously, this hinges on how cold it stays. Do you guys have any questions, thoughts, feedback on the ice driving schedule for the rest of the January, February?
Does SURSA only test the ice where they drive, or do they do some spot checks on other parts of the lake and the lagoon?
I think they do spot checks, and they definitely would, I'm sure, if we asked them to.
I mean, that
These are all
might
about
be,
safety.
yeah, exactly. I mean, but if we're trying to incorporate, you know, different parts of that frozen water area, especially for our event, we might want to have that in our back pocket.
That's a really good point, Mary. Is that something that town administrator Steve or Jen would be kind enough to request?
I mean, I can definitely ask them. Yeah, I have the guy's email and everything, so that'd be super easy.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Do you guys have anything else on ice driving? Anything? I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the chat. Okay. Just on the tournament. Okay. I think we can pull that down. Jen, thank you for sharing that. Good information for everybody. And that was also emailed, I believe, was it emailed to the entire commission, Jen, or just when you sent it to me yesterday? I should look. I think Jen also sent it to all of you via email. So everybody should be aware. Okay. Ice driving. We have our collaborative meeting that we want to have next month is still on, but after some discussions yesterday, I think we should hybrid it from being in person to virtual because of the variant that's out there and the way people are locking down. We had originally talked about it being all in person, and Paul, you had volunteered at the Heritage Center. Are you guys good with us doing it on a hybrid platform instead so that we can do that's possible for you to do, right? I've heard maybe.
Yeah, we have a Zoom room set up, and we also have we also have a setup so that we can live stream to YouTube, but I think that's a Zoom room sort of a situation.
Okay.
Depends on how many people decide to show up in person, and then we can just put it. Yeah. The answer is yes.
Okay, super. Sorry, Jen, you were going to say something.
What's the date again?
We had discussed, and I will just double check it in a minute so I don't say it incorrectly. Jen, why were you going to say something? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm sorry. I thought I was getting another phone call, and then so I didn't hear the whole conversation. I thought you were asking if we could do a hybrid meeting, but you weren't. My bad. So sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I just want to pull up the minutes so I can say the right thing.
We were talking the 16th. That was one of the evenings that we didn't have other commission meetings going on, but I could be wrong.
That
I had the 16th as well.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what was in the minutes. So yes, 16th. So we're still planning on having the meeting, but we'll, instead of it being an in-person event like we'd originally hoped for with the variants, God knows what part of the Greek alphabet will be on by that point. So we'll do it as a hybrid. And if people are comfortable coming in person, and Paul, obviously this hinges if you're still good with us having it there at the Heritage Center and doing it in that format, unless we want to go completely virtual. I open it up to you guys to discuss. I'm fine with, if we're more comfortable doing it completely virtual, that is totally fine with me.
I'd like to think that most of the members of BPC could possibly be there in person, so it gives you a sense of more of a, in-person meeting. And from the last time I was at the old school in a similar situation, the distancing was quite easy to accomplish the way Paul had it set up. So if anyone has that concern, we could spread out a little bit and then invite everybody hybrid too. I think more people might attend if they know that they can Zoom in and not have to come to the meeting.
So we'll put it in one of our classrooms. Those are a little over 600 square feet. So if we don't have tens of people, if we can that's easier for a hybrid meeting. We can go upstairs into the 1,200 square foot, gymnasium, conference space or whatever, performance hall, that is bigger. It's just harder to get the sound to a Zoom because you're using with Zoom, you're using a talk box, not a microphone setup. We have the microphones and stuff, but they're really set up for and I can see if that can transfer to Zoom. I'll look into that with our production people. We're meeting with them in the near future anyway. That might be easier, but it's not a two-way switch. And it's more of a one-way stream. It is a one-way stream that we've designed there. But yeah, we're open to it. That classroom though that Mary's talking about, we can put about 13 or 14 people in there and still spread them out pretty well. And we could without a problem at all. And that was seated in a horseshoe. Okay. So it's not a big issue there to get space. The ceilings are tall and it's windy in there anyway.
Awesome. Okay. Well, all right. Well, we'll still plan on this occurring in the timely fashion, but the goal will be to do it with a hybrid format. So it's a little bit more conducive to people who are not comfortable. And I obviously, I 100% understand. 6 o'clock, Paul, I'm sorry, I typed it in the chat. I 100% understand if anyone in the commission does not want to come, just let me know, but I will plan on being there in person and we'll just do what we have to do to keep it as safe as possible. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question on that? For just when I post it, it's going to be a meeting of business promotion, and then is there anybody else that I would say, or? So
it's in conjunction with basically all of the different groups in Clear Creek County who will have a representative from each, or primarily Georgetown, but like we'll make sure we invite like Cass and Beth Luther, like the Slacker and stuff that Clear Creek County Tourism does. We'll invite people from the Borough Race. We'll invite people from the Rotary. I had a working list of groups. The school. Basically,
okay, I don't need to list every group. I was just kind of trying to get an idea. Like we could just say and entities in Clear Creek County.
Correct. And then I don't know if Mary is our Board of Selectmen representative, but we'll obviously invite Lynette. So, and basically all the commissions in town. But in order for us to not have to quorum every commission for your sake and your sanity, would be a representative from each commission. So like Parks and Rec send somebody, basically all the different boards, so that because the goal is to try and get this flow chart organized so that, kind of coming back to the tree lighting situation where people were like yelling at business promotions, they're like, you guys didn't do this at the right time. We're like, well, it wasn't our event, it was Parks and Rec's event. And then the checklist got sent out late and we were trying to pick up the ball. And so we were happy to help, but we just want to kind of organize the flow of how different groups execute and what our role needs to be, because people seem to feel like BPC is responsible for a lot of things that we're not necessarily directly responsible for. And we want to support those things, but we also want to make sure that we're not overtaking events that people are proud of and want to maintain. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the goal of the conversation. And we want to keep it to 1 hour. Short and sweet.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. We'll see if we can achieve that last part. Okay. Mary, I'm going to let you talk about your stuff. I think I've gone through all my agenda ads. If I miss something, speak now or forever hold your peace.
So I just had two things. I think it's the two things, three things, I guess. I'll do the easy one first. Steve brought to my attention to bring up to business promotions the ice or the snow removal in front of businesses. There was a complaint that Town Hall received specific to 6th Street businesses. And I know we are not in the enforcement realm with business promotions. Just wanted to throw that out there to everybody, get a little feedback, and perhaps give Steve some direction or town staff some direction as to how best we would like to address that. And it's not just 6th Street. Everybody, there's a lot of businesses here that aren't on 6th Street. So.
If you guys wanted, I could send out a note to the business email and also to the weekly email list and just kind of ask the businesses politely if they would like, to shovel in front of their business. If you guys want me to.
Yeah, that was actually that was going to be what I said. I think that obviously we're not here to enforce this for businesses. I feel like that's more of a town thing than us. But if you need to help support the reminder, or if there's business owners that are not able to for some reason, like they have some type of thing that keeps them from being able to do that. I did not see the snow situation. Was it bad up on 6th Street? Was it?
In certain locations it was. I received more, and since Mary and I talked, I've even received another very kind email with regard to not only businesses, but also personal private residences. I think you can understand that since we're a small staff, it's very difficult to be able to go out and do active enforcement. In fact, having done this for 40 years, I can tell you there isn't a town and community in Colorado that can really actively enforce that 24-hour rule. It's just really, really difficult, even from a political standpoint. So, all we really can do is do the reminders. I've asked Jen to include a little blurb in the weekly email, and if there's other outlets that we can utilize, even Jen, maybe the social media outlets on behalf of the town, to try to just remind people to do what you can to not only encourage people to want to come into your business, but also try to assist everybody else with taking care of what is going to be, we hope, a long-term problem throughout this winter with a lot of good snow. And the rest of the
if we know that there's people that are physically not able to shovel their sidewalks due to like an age or some type of an injury type situation, because we do have a fairly ailing population sometimes, or an older population, I should say ailing, that's the wrong word, older. If people need assistance, I mean, I'm certainly happy to help compile a list of people, volunteers who can go, help out at those residents or things like that. But I don't know how business promotions, outside of supporting and just saying, hey, do the right thing and setting good examples, I don't know what else we can really do.
Residents are impossible to enforce at all because we have so many second homes in this town that don't actually pay someone to do their shoveling. So you'll have somebody like, it's moot. If you live here and you shovel your snow, you've got the guy next door that doesn't shovel because there's no one living there.
Yeah.
And so you just feel like you've just wasted a whole bunch of energy doing something that's it's never been enforced. It never will be enforced, and it doesn't go, VRBO and second home and everything like that. It's been like that since I've lived here.
Yeah. And from the town's perspective, you have to understand, for enforcement's sake, if the ordinance states as it does, which is businesses and private residences, and we go and pick on just one Joe Blow and we don't take care of the rest of them, then we get a court and we get a case of arbitrary and capricious enforcement, and it gets thrown out, and it also leaves a bad taste in people's mouth with regard to the town, and it's just not a good thing. So I think, I appreciate Mary bringing it up, but really it is just an adviso, just to let you know. And if you can spread the word, please do within, and Amanda, if you have ideas about getting a list of people that that could actively assist, maybe ship it to us here at Town Hall. We could keep it in our back pocket in case anybody asks. But so far, that's not the situation. The situation's been that people just complain about certain businesses and just ask us to remind them as best as possible.
Businesses definitely are obligated to enforce. I have an ornery 9-year-old I can put on it. He needs tasks.
That's a good mom.
Community service.
He's Cash, you can talk to me.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Mary. Go ahead with I know you had two things.
Yeah, the other two things, and Steve, jump in on this. I just want us to be aware of the impact that some renovation projects on 6th Street may have for us in our events throughout 2022. Jen mentioned this earlier too. Strauss Park, I know we're still waiting on the restrooms, and at one point with the park's master plan, there was intent for some renovation to go on at Strauss Park. So maybe Steve, if you've got some updates you could share, just so it's in the back of everyone's mind.
Well, with regard to Strauss Park, I've been privileged to be able to meet with a couple of folks. We're going back to the master plan for that particular park to try to determine whether some amendments need to be made, especially with regard to costs. Some of the numbers that the consultant came up with were a little bit crazy, even in today's times. And so we're Bob Hamilton, Cinda Neely, and I forget the other gentleman from DRC, although they're not representing DRC with regard to the park, just to make that clear, are going back and looking at construction materials and trying to maintain a little more historic aspect other than what was presented by the consultant. The reason for the look-see is that we're in the process of going past the Strauss Park restroom phase and moving on into the other 2, 3, 4, 5 phases that have been proposed to try to come up with a funding scheme that Cindy will work on. Those dates are coming up, and they're going to be highly competitive, and we need to start getting our foot in the door with regard to the funding agencies that probably will carry the bulk of the load with regard to the cost for the project, some of which is pretty significant. I think we were sitting at 1.5 million. It's pretty incredible for a little tiny square piece of property. However, it looks like we're on schedule to at least discuss this on a preliminary basis conceptually with the Park and Rec group tomorrow. And then ultimately the goal would be to get it in front of the Board of Selectmen so that they can approve or disapprove or modify whatever a conceptual plan, so that Cindy, when she goes to the funders who are really big on everything being put into master plans before they contingent their funding, that'll give Cindy the ammunition she needs to say, hey, the community loves it. We're ready to move forward and see how gracious everybody can be. So I can answer any questions, hopefully. But other than that, that's just the update I have.
Wasn't the sales tax that we approved a couple years ago specifically for earmark these funds for this, or am I confused?
I think there was some discussion about taking it out of the general fund, but we did throw it in as a capital improvement, even from this town's aspect, other than the expenditure for the restrooms, which we had booked for 2021, but now have rolled over into 2022 because I don't anticipate that project will. Well, we've actually requested an extension of the date from the funders, which I believe will go into June now because we can't meet the March 1st deadline. We're still locked in limbo with the state of Colorado's review of the engineering drawings. Wonderful state. Anyway, but I think we did propose that that's going to come out of that sales tax, by the capital improvement fund for this round. That'll be part of what Cindy's going to have to come up with regard to the funding schedule. Hopefully I can assist her with that. And that is that, we just don't know. You got Conservation Trust Fund. We've been building that money up that can be utilized for match money, logical use of match money for any grants you may get, logically GoCo. But there will be capital improvement money, et cetera. So we just don't know where those funding packages will lie, but I think I rely on Cindy's ability to be able to put that together, and I can assist her with my years of experience having put these kind of projects together.
If anyone can find money, it's going to be Cindy Neely. She's got a good head for it, and that comes from somebody that's done quite a bit of it himself. She's amazing. I don't have any other questions about Strauss Park. I mean, obviously, we'll just continue to, be updated on this as it transpires, because it will impact events in the summer that we do use the park for. I'm trying to think.
It won't we got Strauss, we've got the restroom project. Again, we'll hopefully have that in place in the next few months. I don't know. But as far as the funding schedules goes, I just really wouldn't anticipate Cindy getting the funders to be able to get anything to turn loose until 2023. GoCo used to do 2 cycles a year, and now they've kicked it to 1. And I think a lot of that funding isn't really available or announced until later in the year. But I might be getting that confused with DOLA's energy impact, but that may also be a possibility too.
Well, just keep us posted on how we can support those efforts, and obviously what we need to do to adjust. The tourists will still come, and we'll look forward to having a beautiful updated park for them eventually, because it's way overdue. And I am just, if the day I don't have to freeze and trip the breakers and those booths every 15 minutes is going to be a sad day for me personally.
Yeah, well, we'll take care of Steve's. I got Steve's concerns regarding the parking lot and blowing dust. Of course, I live in Canyon City. It blows there also. And so I know how heat and dust is really difficult from being on the East Plains, but at least one phase of the Strauss Park. Unfortunately, the last phase does deal with the parking area, but we'll keep that in the back of our head for coming up this next year and see if we can't do something for this coming up Christmas market.
It was a gritty Saturday out there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you don't open your mouth longer. Just make sure and keep your teeth clapped.
You like your hot chocolate with side of dirt. You also had something, Mary, on
library. On the library. So I understand that the library is going to be going through an extensive remodel, and again, my concern, and I've reached out to Libby, and she and I are going to chat later, so she can clue me in on some of the details. And I apologize that I don't have those details yet for this meeting, but again, they will be, it's my understanding at this point, that they will be closed for services at that location. And I was, again, just concerned whether or not any exterior activity might impact us long-term, because we, with library stage, library park, the little courtyard, the way it kind of flows into the community center, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't really have anything that I can share, and I'm going to put Paul on the spot if you want to jump in or not, and then I can just bring this back to everybody after I talk to Libby later. So
sure. It's been put in front of DRC, so I guess it's public. The information, the library is going under an expansion and renovation. We haven't broken ground. I'm not sure when we're going to break ground. We haven't gone through the grant writing process, although this seems to be moving a little quickly. It's moving at a rapid pace at this time. From my understanding, so there's going to be an addition on the west side of the building, and then some changes to the courtyard and to the side of the building, some redirection for better ADA use and better access to the library. I haven't been told of impacts to stage at all. We haven't discussed the realities of construction in that process. The estimates are 9 months, but we all know how that goes with construction. So right now where we are is in the, I'm gonna stop because Libby should do the rest of it, but I am the chair of the ownership committee, and I'm on the district board. So I guess so the stage will just have easier access for music, but I'm not sure how construction will impact anything. We haven't gone into that phase of it. We're barely into the phase of the contracts for the finishing portions of the architecture and for the permitting process and all of the rest of that. So it may very well impact us during the summer.
Let's just put it on the agenda maybe for next month, and I'll get some more nitty-gritty and really gritty details from Libby just to share, because obviously if it is a 9-month project and it's still in the permitting stage, 9 months doesn't start until March or April or May for us. And so that will definitely bring us through some of our fall events and Christmas events and everything. So I just want the commission and our events manager to be aware of that impact. And I know the town certainly is going to, we care about what's happening down on 6th Street and to keep it a nice community for people to visit. So
I will say that from the drawings, the main impact to the park, to library stage, it's really just sidewalks and ingress and egress, and it's to the side of the stage. So we can probably, there's not a lot of, the historic structure, is to remain intact as it is and all of that. So that side of it's on the side of the historic structure. So I don't think that it's going to impact the stage heavily, hopefully.
Concerned more about yellow tape and, barricades and kind of a, plywood windows like across the street. I just didn't want that first block to have that impact or concerned about it. So thanks.
Definitely some stuff on the horizon that can impact us for the summer, but it's also so necessary. It's such a hard thing. Like we know that the long term is such a, we're growing out of our tiny little shell, and we need to be, a little bigger and a little, updated, but still charming. So the last thing, I'm actually going to see if I can put Steve back on the spot on this again, is if we have updates on the Alpine hose. I thought it was working, and then I guess it's not working. I don't know.
Actually, I think Jen was talking to Mary, I think, in the background after you had mentioned it early on, so I'll leave it to her.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Mary said that she talked to Kelly yesterday and that they have found somebody to actually help repair it. So they're in the process of working on it, is what he told her.
Okay, super. And then actually, Jen, I have one more question for you. This came up in the very heated first debate of 2022 on Facebook over whether or not the bells got rung on New Year's Eve, which I can assure you I was freezing my tail end off ringing bells. The old Missouri.
Okay. I set out, Tom Elliott asked me to set out the rope from Town Hall, which I did. So after that, I don't know who was going to ring it. I wasn't part of any conversation. I just was told to set the rope out when it should have been out. So
I don't know. There was someone assigned to Town Hall because I saw the list of people. And so first off, the Town Hall bell, I've heard mixed things. It works or it doesn't work? It's accessible. It's good.
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
It works when we set out the rope, which we did,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I swear. This was, yes. But it is important. It's an important tradition that we have the bells organized. So I will follow up and see if someone was ringing Town Hall. I don't know who was on the list. I know that Old Missouri, the Presbyterian Church, Grace Episcopal, and the Catholic churches, all four of those rung for sure. Obviously Alpine Hose can't ring, it's broken. And then the Heritage Center, the bell ringer was snowed in. So, I mean, I think we did the best we could. I heard the bells. I was standing in the middle of Taos. And so but I know a lot of folks didn't hear them. Maybe it was just those uptown ones that people didn't hear, but I will just make sure that we add it to kind of, it's a weird thing to think about for December, but to kind of keep it on the radar for next December so that we have an organized list of who's ringing the bells. But Tom did an amazing job of organizing it. He sent out an email. I saw the email. So it's, go ahead, Katie.
I just have to say it was really funny. Kyle and I think we're like the only people that were banging pots and pans on our end. And the Alpine hose like normally makes noise. And so we can like be like chimed with the Alpine hose, but it was just Kyle and I with our pots and pans. And when we went silent, there was like no one for 2 blocks. I'm sure my neighbors love me.
That's awesome. I know that, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it was a heated debate. Tom Elliott does a really wonderful job every year by himself arranging the bells for everybody. I didn't realize that this was supposed to be a town thing at all. It was just that we've done it out forever. I was actually contacted for it. I got a volunteer to help me with it because I was doing inventory well to midnight, and I couldn't get over to ring the bells. And so, yeah, the Heritage Center, that's the loudest bell, I think. And I think that's why the old school, that's why.
Maybe that's why people thought we didn't do it.
Yeah, but they couldn't get out of their driveway. And by the time I realized it was too late.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, it was definitely, and I know we ring the bells for other things too, not just New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is the one that we do the most, but we ring the bells for other occasions. So it's all good. It was fun. Go ahead, Kevin.
The people who have been critical, they need to remember that we're criticizing our neighbors, we're criticizing citizens, and we're criticizing volunteers.
No, for sure. And I don't think anyone meant to be like super salty about it, but it was pretty funny. I was like, I kind of laughed, but the town, I will double check because the one bell I did not know was the town hall bell, and I will see who was supposed to ring that. I'm 90% sure that I know who's supposed to ring it, and I know that they were out. So I think the town hall bell would too. So, it's a fun thing that we do here in this town, and we'll just keep it in mind for next year to support Tom as best we can as neighbors and volunteers and people who like ringing bells in the freezing cold. It's a hobby of mine.
Just a poll, has anybody else ever heard of, I mean, I guess some people on certain streets were banging pots and pans over the years, but that's something I've never, ever been told to do. I've never heard of it, a thing, till this year.
We heard it when we first moved here. Yeah.
I've always worked at the brewery every New Year's Eve. This is my first one I didn't. And Kyle goes, I've never heard of this. I feel like you're making this up. And then I showed him the Facebook post and I was like, we're going to do it. Everyone's doing it. And then we were the only people like within 2 blocks doing it. And he's like, I feel like you kept me up for absolutely no reason. So I know it's like a thing, but
we've done it. This year we didn't do it because the kids came with us to do the bell. But in years past, we haven't done it because the kids were asleep and we didn't want to wake them. But we had
Kyle broke my spatula.
Oh, nice work.
Kyle broke my spatula on his first hit, and I was like, "This is just a failure. We just failed."
The one thing.
Maybe next year.
Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, Amanda. Maybe next year we can put up flyers, and I could definitely send it out to the weekly email list, stuff like that.
I would like that.
No, for sure. I think that it was. It's one of those things that I mean, it's a super fun tradition of ours, and I definitely think it all of the things that we do in this little town of ours, they're fun. Yeah, so that's the story of New Year's Eve, everybody. Before we wrap up, we've got 6 minutes left. This is the longest we've gone in a while, but we had a lot to talk about. Anything else before we go into the minutes? I did not have anything else in the minutes. Oh, I do have one more thing for Christmas market just to get in the minutes for Christmas market really quick. In the follow-up with the roundabout bus, I think that they forgot some people. They forgot where their stops were, because Ryan and I gave people rides from uptown down to the lake. They actually just got in Ryan's truck. They didn't even ask us. It was hilarious. These 2 women, they were like, we're really cold. We're going to get in your truck now. And we're like, who are you? This is weird. This is not an Uber. Thank you. It was awkward. And then I jumped out of the truck and left Ryan alone with them, and he drove them back to the lake and didn't speak to me for about 4 hours after. So we just need to follow up with the roundabout bus people, make sure that they are going to their appropriate stops. It was the stop in front of the post office they missed. I do not have any adjustments for the minutes or amendments to the minutes. Did anyone else catch anything? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 1st?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. It is 9:56 a.m. I make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 9:56 a.m. Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you for your participation this morning. And we'll talk very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
We have urgency non-participation.